where did you start? Someone said EOS. Did you get the book? Did you get an implementer? Where did you start that journey of turning your business around?
So the guy that recommended EOS to me, he was implementing EOS, and Mark was his implementer. I'm a visionary. I don't really read. And so
I'm offended, but I know exactly what you mean.
And so I called Mark Winters, and I'm like, we're a mess. And he said, if you're open to changing the way you do business, we can help. And then we just started down the process. Focus Day, Vision Building 1. And I never will forget, though, and it's one of the reasons that one of the things I'm so passionate, the two things that resonate with me that drew me to EOS and still continue to hold me is, number one, is it's not about theory, right? Because how many times have you been to a conference and you hear these great ideas and you get back to your office on Monday and you go, what was step one? And so with EOS, there's always a step one. And the second thing that really resonated with me was it really made me understand the power of vision, like where you're going. You have to know who you are as an organization, where you're going before you can ever figure out how you're going to get there. And if you don't know that, you don't have any footing and you will continually struggle. And EOS really drove that home for me.
So what were some of the aha changes that you made during that process? Was there a handful of key things that EOS made you realize, I need to change this to become profitable? What are some of those things that you recall?
Yeah, there's two that really stand out to me. And the first one was we were in Focus Day. So the very first day of EOS implementation, and we're setting rocks, and rocks are how you establish the priorities for the organization. And so Mark Winters says you need to identify 3 to 7 of the most important things you need to focus on for the next 90 days. And I looked at him and I said, are you freaking kidding me? 3 to 7? I've got 100. I need them all done yesterday, and we are drowning because we can't get any of them done. And there was this long, uncomfortable pause, and he looked at me and he said, how's that working for you? And so we identified ended up being 7 to 12 most important things we needed to focus on, and quarter by quarter, we started knocking those out. And by setting the right priorities and by creating a cadence of focus and attention, we solved 100 problems, but we solved them in order of importance, literally 1 quarter at a time. It was so powerful to me.
Was it just the two of you going through that? Did you have a team?
No, we had a leadership team. My leadership team, we started with 12 people on my leadership team because I was too nice not to tell people that they couldn't be on the leadership team. So I just wanted everybody on the leadership team. We did shrink down to 6 eventually.
Okay.
And then the second thing that was really powerful for us was, so I had sold a business and ended up, the company I sold it to got bought by CVS. I ended up as an area vice president for a division of CVS called ProCare. I managed 25 pharmacies in 21 states. I had a $400 million revenue line, had about 250 employees under me. I didn't ever want to be corporate like that. I just thought that it was soul crushing. No offense to CVS. But so we didn't really have metrics, and I just figured that everybody loved working for me and loved working for the company, and everybody was just coming in and pulling together, and it was all kumbaya. And so when we started EOS and they started talking about scorecards, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not because it's going to be all corporate. And so one of the problems we were having is we filled 30,000 prescriptions a month. These patients were intellectually and developmentally disabled. They lived in halfway houses. And so they kind of took the same medicines. It was, every month. So it didn't really change. So we kind of filled the same 30,000 prescriptions every month. We had 9 people to fill. We had to fill 1,500 prescriptions a day in order to get them delivered on time. 9 people doing it. You'd think, knowing that math, that we could get those 30,000 prescriptions filled every month on time. You would think that, and you would be wrong. month after month after month, we ran out of time before we ran out of prescriptions. So we're always scrambling at the end, tons of overtime, stuff's late, not meeting our customer service commitments. And so we started scorecarding. And literally people would just got a piece of paper and a pencil and made a tick mark every time they filled a prescription. So the first day we did it, we had 9 employees filling prescriptions. Some of them filled 80 prescriptions in a day. Some of them were filling, a couple of them filled 40. We had a bunch filling 100, 120. There was one that filled 140. And I'm like, I kind of thought everybody would do the same number. And then I thought, okay, so the one that did 140 is going to do less, and the people that are going to do 40 are going to do more. So we did it the second day, and they kept their numbers, and we looked at them at the end of the second day. And the people that did 140 the next day did 200. And the people that did 40 did 40. And everybody else all moved a little bit. Either they stayed the same or they moved up. And I thought, wow, I'm missing something here. Because turns out what you manage, you measure, or you manage what you measure. And so what ended up happening was by scorecarding, 2 things happened. Number one, we even without setting a goal, just by measuring it, our productivity went up 30%. And it was huge. And it got even better once we set goals. So we ended up figuring out that we needed 4 people to fill 1,500 prescriptions a day instead of 9. And by setting a goal and measuring it, and then and if we missed something, then we could, scorecards are predictors of success. So you could see that number not be 1,500. We could find resources the next day to get back on track, so that we made sure that we were successful through the month. And those were my 2 those were my 2 big. There was tons of learning, obviously, but those were my 2 really big, aha